welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, August the 7th, 2013. I am Shawn King. Thank you guys very much for joining us here this Wednesday evening. I think, yes, first Wednesday in August. So, as always, on the first Wednesday of any month, we remind you to join our Friends of Your Mac Life contest. You can go to the website at yourmaclifeshow.com. Right at the top of the page, you will see the Friends of Your Mac Life entry form. Fill that form out. It sends me an email. I send that email into our virtual prize pack, prize hat, and you can win one of many fabulous prizes from many lovely companies. If you subscribe to Your Mac Life, don't worry, I've got you covered. I personally will hand move your subscription into the hat on your behalf. You don't got to do anything else. Subscribe once, boom, taken care of. So that's the easiest way to do it. Go to yourmaclifeshow.com. On the top left-hand side of the page, you will see the subscription. You can subscribe for $2, $5, $10, $15, whatever amount of money you'd like a month. Comes out of your PayPal account or your major credit card. Anywhere in the world this works, because PayPal is kind of cool that way. So please do that if you so choose, because it would be appreciated. It means that we can buy stuff like bandwidth. Have you noticed? No ads on the show. No, Maurice is handing me a beer as we speak. It is a Rickards Blonde. He's handing me a blonde. Thanks, Maurice. Rickards is a Canadian beer company. I think it's Canadian. And they have Rickards Red, and now this one's a Rickards Blonde. So Maurice has just handed me one of those. Have you noticed there's no advertising in the show? We got rid of all those Ustream ads. That's because I'm paying a company now for the bandwidth, and therefore they are not putting ads. But on next week's show, we will start sponsorships. I get this idea from one of our listeners who sent me a PayPal donation, one way to describe it, a couple weeks ago. And I said, hey, this is a significant amount of money. Let me know who you'd like me to pimp. He said, I don't really have anybody. I said, well, think of somebody. And what you'll do is you'll be the sponsor of that week's show. So we're going to do that starting next week. So people will be able to sponsor the show and have their name said, or their company's name said, or their product name, or their URL, whatever it is they'd like to do. Just send me an email. It's not an email. Is there a URL for the audio live stream that's iTunes compatible? iTunes compatible. So you mean to watch... Oakland guy, you mean to watch the show in iTunes? I'm not sure exactly what you mean, because we are live on the website, both audio and video. I don't know that you can watch us live in iTunes. You can always get the subscription. You can always get the MP3 file from iTunes. Audio feed? No, I'm not. I don't think. Can you? I'm so confused. Oakland guys just completely throw me for a loop. Can you listen to? So you're thinking like radio streams in? No, I don't think I've set it up that way, because I didn't need to, because it's right here off the website. So, for you folks who don't follow my Twitter stream, you may not have seen this. This was the weirdest thing I saw last week on Twitter. You got to check this out. This is from Kyle. But there we go. Sorry. Mosquito says it's a live octopus being no. That's a dead octopus. That's not a live octopus, Mosquito. That sucker is dead. But because of the what they call the ATP and the salt and the soy sauce, it makes it look it's just creepy. Hiker BC says yummy. You're a sick man, Hiker. It's just the most demented, weird thing I've seen all week. So just wanted to hand you guys that little tidbit of information. Also, I want to say a big. First of all, our IC babe Sly won't be joining us tonight. She's had a family emergency. Sly, our thoughts go out to you. And it's the CIG's, the Cute Italian Girl's birthday. So happy birthday very much to, and I'll say her name maybe for the first time, Alessandra. It's Alessandra's birthday today. She's 39 again, I think. So hopefully she's having a good. But she's not here tonight. Usually, sometimes she comes into the show, but she's staying home because the other Cute Italian Girl, Valentina, is with her, and they. The good thing about the Cute Italian Girl not being with me is when we're on the motorcycle, now I don't have to hold my breath for an hour and a half. Hold my stomach in for an hour and a half. Because when you guys, you know this, when a girl's hugging you, you suck your stomach in. Well, on a motorcycle, when she's on the back and she's hugging you for an hour and a half, that gets tiring after a while. Sucking your stomach in for an hour and a half, after a while, it hurts. It's exhausting. So it was kind of nice to be able to let my belly flow. This past weekend, though, we were in Calgary, and we were hanging out in used bookstores. And, oh, God, I love used bookstores, but I shouldn't be allowed to go in them. I found a book that I have literally been looking for 30 years. I have checked in bookstores all over North America. Every city I went to that had a bookstore, I'd go in. Do you have this book? Used bookstores in Nashville, in Connecticut, in Pittsburgh, in Portland. Vancouver, could not find this. Little, actually fairly good size, used bookstore in Calgary had this book, and it's called Blue Nose Ghosts. I read this book when I was like 10, 11, or 12. Scared the crap out of me. It turns out, Maritimers, people who not only know Canadian Maritimers, folks in the Canadian Maritime provinces, PEI, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia, and the Atlantic provinces, includes Newfoundland, are extraordinarily superstitious. Apparently, any group of people who live and work in and on the ocean have superstitions, not necessarily ocean-based, but they tend to be more superstitious about things because of the mystery of the sea, I suppose. So Dr. Helen Crichton in the 50s, this book is from 57, went around and collected these ghost stories that turned out to be fairly common among other maritime people. And so basically it's a book of ghost stories and where they come from and why they're around. And the interesting thing is, the book helped explain why my mother was so superstitious. For example, my mom would freak out if a hat was left on a bed because that meant someone in the house was going to die. She would freak out if you put your foot on a rocking chair and just make the rocking chair rock when no one's sitting in it. My mother would freak out. You can't let a rocking chair rock by itself. It means bad luck. So there's all these superstitions that she unfortunately passed on to her kids. I don't believe in them. But she would tell us these stories. And it turns out a lot of these are based on these kind of ghost stories from Blue Nose is the nickname for Nova Scotians. So I'm dying to read this book to see if it's as scary as it was when I was 12. So thanks very much to I don't know the name of the bookstore. Is it the name of the book? Fair's Fair is a bookstore. So thanks to you guys very much. Turns out they've got 5 copies. No one else in North America has even got one. They had 5 copies of this. So I'm going to go home tonight and scare myself and read stories. Did you freak out if someone opened an umbrella inside the house? Yeah, that's a typical superstition. The black cat, umbrella in the house, under the stair, under a ladder. All those are the common ones. She had the uncommon ones. There was one about pennies, one about birds. Like you couldn't if a bird got in the house, it meant someone in the house was going to die. These were all like, someone's going to die. If this happens, someone's going to die. So they were terrifying to a 10-year-old that these things would happen, that someone's going to die. Don't tell 10-year-olds those kinds of stories. Those are not good 10-year-old stories. What else we got? Oh, so tonight, the other thing we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Downpour from The Loop at loopinsight.com. We're also going to talk about travel stories. Maurice and I were talking about this earlier. I always like asking this question to people, especially those who've traveled. Where would you never go again? That you've been, on vacation, not work related, because those just suck in general. But where's a place you would never travel to again? That if I gave you the money, you would say, "No, I'm not going. Yeah, I'm not going to that place. That's not going to be interesting to me at all." Or that I had a lousy time there. Where's the kind of places? Next week we'll talk about the places you do want to go. But this week, I'm going to talk a little bit about where's the place you'd never, ever want to go again. Send me email to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Well, that or any other subject that you so choose to send emails about. We love getting emails from you guys. The onair@yourmaclifeshow.com address works all during the week, so even you folks in the archive can send email to that address if you have questions, comments, or have anything to say to the show. onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. So, as I said, our IRC Sly won't be joining us either in the IRC or on the show, but you can always join us in the IRC. There's a bunch of folks in there already. You can go to irc.chat-solutions.org in your favorite IRC server software, or the easiest way to do it is just simply go to the front page of yourmaclifeshow.com. Right there, you'll see my happy smiley face, and you will see below it where you can log into the IRC. It's really simple. Really, Monty set that up for us, so it's real simple for you folks who are not IRC aficionados to get into the IRC very, very quickly. And by the way, I'm wearing my yellowish orange shirt for Mo tonight, for Mosquito, because he always complains when I wear dark colors that he says I blend into the background. So Mo, this shirt's for you, buddy. You like it? Huh? You like the orange? You enjoying this? Huh? So that's especially for Mo. So when we come back from this brief break, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Downpour from The Loop at loopinsight.com. This is your Mac Life. I think we've got Jim on the phone. Jim, are you there? There's Jim Downpour in the Loop at loopinsight.com. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
You're good. You have a good week?
Yeah, I'm alive.
What's this nepotism I see on the Loop magazine? This Michael Dalrymple kid. What the hell is that all about? Get your kid writing for you? I hope you paid him.
He said, I did pay him, actually.
That's good. He wrote an interesting article. It's interesting that your kid is a vinyl aficionado, because he's 18, right?
Yeah, he's 18.
18. Is that unusual for his age group, that kids have sort of gone old school and vinyl, or is he even unusual for his age group?
It's unusual. I mean, it is coming back.
Yeah.
But it is unusual, which is why I asked him to write that article, because we were sitting down talking one day, and he wanted an album. And I said, "Oh, well, here it is, right here. I have it. I have it on iTunes."
Yeah.
And he said, "No, I actually want the album."
You mean CD?
Yeah. Well, I don't understand what you're talking about. What is this? And he said, that one I definitely want on album. So, then we started talking about it, and all his friends still do, iTunes or CDs or whatever. But he's really getting into albums. So
is it just particular ones he wants as albums, like collector's items, or is he buying everything by?
Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah, cool.
He still buys CDs.
Yeah.
But not as much, and he never has bought music online.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't like that. He's very much into what we used to do, and taking the liner notes and looking at the artwork and. He's very much into that.
Yeah, but we did that when we were stoned.
Shut up, Shawn.
Okay.
Um,
now, at your peak, Jim, at your personal peak, how many albums vinyl do you think you had?
I still have. Well, look, we're going on a little trip here.
All right.
I still have,
Wow.
you know, two of those shelves, and
Uh-huh.
then there's another whole cabinet in the other room
Mm-hmm.
that's full of vinyl.
So we're talking what, at least 1,000, if not 2,000, right?
I think I had well, there was over 600, I think,
No.
at the last time I looked. And you know, those are some are classical, some are rock, and you know, Pink Floyd, The Wall is
Yeah.
in there, and you know, all that kind of stuff that we used to listen to. And you know, so it's good that he's doing that.
Do you remember the
And
first album you ever bought?
April Wine.
Oh God!
Yep.
At
April Wine.
least I can say I bought a classic as my first. I actually won my first album from a local radio station there in Halifax, and it was Rush's Bastille Day.
I was gonna say, what was it, Milli Vanilli? uh, no, April Wine was my first first
Wow.
album, and for a Canadian, that is a classic.
Well, I'm Canadian, and I don't think of them as classic.
Oh, they are. They're great.
Yeah, they did some great music. I don't know if
Yeah.
I don't know if I call them classic. All right, fine, whatever.
I mean, for Canadian, you have you know, Trooper and April
Loverboy.
Wine, and no, not Loverboy. They're not classic. Jeez. So yeah, it's interesting, and he actually connected with. I don't mean connected, but connected with that story with a lot of people. A lot of people wrote him and wrote me about, you know, even on Twitter about their vinyl collection.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is that the free story on the Loop magazine this month?
No.
Okay. What's the free one?
I'd have to go back.
Yeah,
and
I've forgotten. But folks, you can go to the loopinsight.com and check it out. You can buy one-offs of the Loop magazine, right, Jim?
no.
Okay. No.
You subscribe. Yeah, he did connect with a lot of people, so that
Cool.
was good.
Good for him.
Oh, the free article was the wine article.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And how to ruin your wine drinking.
Yeah.
Have you ever
Yeah,
have you ever had wine?
Yeah, it comes in a green bottle. No, I've had wine. I like red wine myself.
Me too. Yeah.
I'm not much of a white wine drinker. That's too dry and awful for me.
Yeah, I agree.
But
speaking of dry and awful, did you care at all? It seemed like the entire tech universe went nuts when some rich guy bought a newspaper a couple days ago.
I think it's interesting. It's not
Why?
so much because I don't know why he did it.
He's a rich guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, if Microsoft buys a company or Apple buys a company,
Yeah.
then you say, yeah, okay, I can see that they're gonna, you know, integrate that technology into iTunes
Sure.
or, you know, whatever. This makes no sense to me. I mean, other than the fact that he's a rich guy, and you know, like some people say, hey, maybe he's looking for his legacy.
I don't know. He bought the equivalent of 4 Gulfstreams.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it could very well be some part of his master plan that everyone's trying to figure out, or it could be just some rich guy buying rich guy stuff.
Yeah, well, you know, he got bored and wanted to buy a newspaper. But see, that's just it. I mean, when you look at everything that Jeff has done, it's all been, you know, kind of, you know, cutting edge internet, you know, around the world type of stuff. And then he buys a local newspaper.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't call it a local newspaper, dude.
Well, I mean, I don't mean that.
This is
in
the
a bad
newspaper
way.
this is the newspaper that brought down a freaking president. It's not a local paper.
I mean, you know, it is the local Washington newspaper. But you know, the Post has a good name and a great reputation.
Yep.
And you know, Joe Wilcox said it yesterday, and I agreed with him that it would be great if Bezos would bring back some investigative journalism. You know?
Yeah. Is there? I think one of the issues that I had with it is I wonder what he's going to do with it. He said that this is not an Amazon purchase. This is a Jeff Bezos purchase. He's not going to be hands-on in the editorial aspect of it.
Right.
Maybe he'll just say to the editorial guys, "Hey, you're now free to do what I've tripled your budget. Go investigate things." Yeah, hopefully that's it.
Well, just a sec. I got to call Monique and ask her to bring me a coffee.
He's calling his wife, who is upstairs, to ask her to bring him a coffee. We've been doing this show at this time for at least the last 7 years.
I think she hung up on me.
I don't blame her.
That's not very nice, is it? Well, no, oh, here she is with the coffee.
Just hold on. With the coffee. Hi. Tell Monique I said hi.
Shawn says hi. I just called you.
Was I not quick enough?
No, you weren't quick enough. Monique says hi.
I heard her. Hi, Monique. Oh, my God.
See, this is my favorite coffee mug.
Yeah, it's a very cute coffee. Where'd you get that coffee mug?
I've had that coffee mug for 25 years.
Really?
Monique gave it to me, yeah.
It's a very tiny little coffee mug in that big old head of yours.
Oh, that's good.
Good stuff.
So, there's no doubt that the Washington Post has to keep up online with what everybody else is doing, right? I mean, they have to have their quick hit stories. They have to be publishing online. They have to be doing all of that kind of stuff. But you can get journalism interns to do that.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad job
for
a journalism student or, somebody that just got out of journalism school. That's not a bad job at all. But I would like to see a core group of journalists to investigate some of these big stories, and leave them to their devices, and these are the experienced guys. These are the guys with the sources, the guys that know what to do.
The one of the issues is that because so much of these companies, these journalism companies have become bottom line driven, run by bean counters. Right. Investigative journalism does not bring in $1 every single day. And that's why so many of them have cut it back. And maybe Bezos will say to them, you're free of those commercialized constraints that, yes, the paper has to make money. We know that. But maybe the investigative news section can lose a little bit of money while you guys go out and break real stories.
Right. Right. And this is probably going to sound terrible, and I don't mean it like it sounds, but let the lower paid new people generate the news that's going to be on the website that will bring in some of the money. Yep. And if you bring back some of that investigative journalism, some of that really great stuff, then I think the paper's name will, the paper has a good name already, but I think it could really lift journalism.
I agree with that. I agree with the idea that the rising tide raises all ships kind of thing. If the Washington Post starts doing more investigative journalism and gets more notoriety because of that, then the New York Times will do more, and the Los Angeles Times will do more, and the Houston, whatever the hell it is, will do more, and all the other guys will start saying.
And the Wall Street Journal will just keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, they'll still be idiots, yeah. And the Halifax Chronicle Herald will still spell their own name wrong. God, that was embarrassing.
That was funny.
I think the worst part of this story, though, was someone posted on Twitter, and the realization struck me hard that Bezos paid $250 million for the Washington Post, a reputable journalistic entity. And who was it paid $1 billion for Instagram, a money-losing, picture-taking piece of fluff?
Well, put this in some perspective. Yahoo paid $1 billion for Tumblr.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the new medium against the old medium, and 245 million as opposed to $1 billion. Something I thought about. I don't know why I would think about this, but when you buy something like the Washington Post, obviously you get all the assets, so you get the buildings and everything. Do they have an inspector go through and say, yeah, the building's fallen down and cut your bid by 10 million so you can fix it up? Or
Yeah, that's the Bezos. I don't know if you read the stories. The publisher was talking about how he kept the secret over the last few weeks and months they've been doing this. But yeah, Bezos did his due diligence, and they would have had an inspector go around and say the assets are worth this, and therefore you can pay this much for the company.
wow.
Let's talk about it from this point of view, though. What difference does it make? Why do we need investigative journalism? Why is this so important to you? Certainly to me. Can you enunciate to the audience why you think this level and this kind of journalism is important to you?
I don't know what enunciate means, but I'll try and explain what it means. How about that?
All right.
If you're going to keep using big words, I'm going to have to carry a dictionary with me.
I'm sorry. My apologies.
I guess there's so much crap out there that, we've all kind of glommed onto these writers that we really enjoy that write long form stories. And that's what we keep talking about now are long form stories. But actually, I think what a lot of old timers may look at is not long form stories, where somebody gives an opinion for 1,000 words, but more a story that's researched and sourced and, takes weeks to do or a week to do, not something that takes 2 hours to do. And there's a lot of, if you go back and read some newspapers from the 40s, I've actually got a couple of papers here from the war.
Yeah.
And even some of the stories that are in there, you can see the difference in the quality of what was written. So I think that's kind of what we're looking for. It's more quality reporting as opposed to, we heard through, Jose at the coffee shop that heard it from, Bev, the secretary. And, that's kind of what we have now.
I think for me, it's the idea that we don't have, I know you and I do, and certainly a lot of people in our audience hold the act of journalism to a very, very high regard. And those who practice that act must be held in high esteem if they're doing good work. Stop doing that with your laptop screen. Stop it. And
it moves. Oh.
As much as I rail against people like Cult of Mac and 9 to 5 for just the shitty work they do, I love the New York Times. I love the New York Times, and I love reading the Washington Post and those kinds of papers that have that gravitas, which means weight or truth, that a lot of papers don't have. And remember, these are where very, very important stories that matter to a lot of people are broken. We look back in the 70s, the Pentagon Papers, just recently the PRISM story of the government spying on us. Doesn't matter who broke those stories are investigative reporting. And I think we need more of that.
Who did break that story?
You know what? I've forgotten. Someone in the IRC chat will remind me who broke the PRISM story. I want to say it was somebody online, but I'm not 100% sure. But it was an investigative story, and we need more of these. The perfect example of how little investigative journalism we have is everybody look at your local newspaper and look at how many advertisements you will see for two sectors, car dealers and real estate. And you will never see an investigative story about car dealers ripping customers off or real estate agents ripping people off. Because no newspaper, any newspaper that carries those ads will not touch. Those are like the third wire, the third rail of newspaper investigative reporting. You don't go near those because that's your bread and butter. That's money. And it's a real shame. Because there are all kinds of real estate agents who are crooked and all kinds of car dealerships who are crooked. But the Halifax Chronicle, Herald Chronicle will never touch them. The Calgary Sun-Times will never touch them. The Vancouver Sun will never touch them. Those are just three Canadian papers. Your local paper, I guarantee you, your local paper does not do any investigative journalism into those kinds of things, which proves that there isn't that line, the Chinese wall between journalism and editorial and marketing.
Well, but they also won't do stories on religion because they don't want half of their customers to quit the next day. Either, they post a story that, could be for religion or against religion. Half of their customers may quit the next day, and they won't do that. I run that risk every time I post something on the Loop.
Yep.
Half of my readers could just disappear because I say something. They could all disappear tonight. They could be running for the hills right now. I don't know.
I run that risk every time I have you on the show. Actually, I run the risk every time I open my mouth. One of us is going to screw up in some way, shape, or form. Speaking of screwing up, you posted a story on the Loop at loopinsight.com. The Second Conf. I'll be speaking at Second Conf this year, closing out the conference. I'm not quite sure why you're lying to your audience. Why are you claiming to be a conference speaker at Second Conf, the website secondconf.com?
Because I was bored.
Yeah, because I checked the speakers list. You're not on it.
I know.
I checked the list of events. You're not on it.
But I figure if I say I'm going to be there, then they'll just put me on.
You shame them into inviting you. Now, this is the second conference this has happened to you, man. The OOF conference, the OOF conference, what the hell thing is in Ireland you went to?
Ooh.
The OOL conference. Same thing. They didn't have your face up there either. No, what's going on?
They didn't put me on there. Well, I think that they wanted people to come. Actually, it's funny. They tweeted today, this Second Conf tweeted and said that I was going to be there and, closing out the show. And then, so I posted that and said, okay, I'm going to Second Conf. And, and then I got a note and said the guy was updating the website and he had, an emergency that he had to go take care of. So they said it'll be later today or tomorrow before it gets updated. I said that, that's okay. It's fine with me.
Second Conf is the annual gathering of technologists passionate about creating great things. What are you doing there?
I don't know.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't understand. I don't understand why these people would blow their beer budget on you.
I'm looking now. Oh, my thing's moving again. Yeah, I'm still not there.
Seriously, what are you going to be doing there?
I'm going to be doing a talk. And,
about? Talk about what?
I talk about the parallels that the music industry and developers have.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds like it might be interesting.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be doing a jam session afterwards, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a few people already that have said that, great, I'll bring my guitar, or another guy's bringing his bass, and yeah, we'll have a jam session afterwards.
Cool. That'll be fun.
So, yeah.
Folks, if you're in the Chicago area, the Second Conf, Second CONF is the URL. Check it out if you so desire. The other thing I was curious about, the Wired article that Peter linked to on loopinsight.com, the 20th anniversary of the Newton message pad, sort of passed quietly. I don't think Apple's not going to be much into any kind of celebration of these kinds of things. Did you ever have a Newton?
I didn't.
Yeah, neither did I. We couldn't find them in Canada, could we? They were really expensive in Canada.
Yeah. Well, everything is.
Yeah, well, especially that time, because remember the exchange rate was like 75 cents on the dollar, so $1,000 Newton was $1,500 for us, so we couldn't afford it. Did you ever want one? Was it one of those devices that you actually wished you had gotten your hands on?
No, not really.
It was for me one of those things. It's probably the only Apple product I've ever actually wanted and never gotten. Like really, really lusted after, instead of just like, oh, that'd be nice to have. I really wanted a Newton message bed, especially the last version. And reading that article really brought forth how revolutionary that thing was 20 years ago, wasn't it? I mean, it was amazing when it worked. I remember going to the Apple, an Apple demo of it must have been in Vancouver, and just being blown away by how cool this little handheld device was. It was amazing.
Yeah, it really was. But my problem back then was I didn't have a lot of money. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you're just married and kids and all that kind of stuff. So um, didn't have a lot of money, and everything that I did at that point needed to really do something. And the Newton, I couldn't figure out what to do with it. Besides the fact that it was really cool technology, and yeah, you could do the odd thing. You could try and make it understand your handwriting and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I needed more
Yeah.
from that, and it just didn't do it.
Do you think that if Steve Jobs hadn't come along and killed the Newton, and rightfully so, I have no problem with
Yes.
the logic behind why Jobs killed the Newton. Do you think if it had stayed with the company that it would have eventually become the iPhone, or
No.
would it have morphed somewhere other direction?
It would have morphed somewhere awful.
Yeah. I don't know if awful, but certainly not as good as the iPhone.
In actual fact, I think what would have happened is that Apple would have went bankrupt.
Yeah.
And somebody would have bought the assets, and whether we still would have had an Apple, I don't know.
I'm making the assumption that Apple would have continued on the path that they did. They would have killed everything else, and the iMac would have brought them back. And yet there would also be this Newton message pad thing going along. So the company would have gotten healthy, but there would have been this odd product off to the side.
I think that they would have, looking at the way that it was going, it seems to me that they would have tried to make some kind of laptop with it, or something that just was odd.
Well, they did make a laptop with it, the eMate.
Well, yeah, I know, but you know what I mean. Like, try and make, like a PowerBook type laptop with Newton technology in it, or just something that didn't make any sense that people would look at and say, "What the hell?"
It certainly can be argued that the path they were going on with the Newton was the wrong path, and that we would have led down a dead-end street for them at some point. Maybe not immediately, maybe not in 5 years, but certainly by now, they might be stuck with this device that they had to support, and really had no future for it.
And I don't think that we would have looked at it in the same light that we do now. I mean, when we look at the Newton now, we look at it as this kind of brilliant thing that didn't really get the success that maybe it would have deserved if it had come later, or had it done some things different. I don't think that we really know how to classify the Newton. Was it a huge success? I don't really think so.
No, it wasn't.
Was it ahead of its day? Well, maybe. It was very cool. It didn't always work.
No.
Most of the time.
Yeah, that's right.
But it was kind of one of these proof of concept things that here's what can be done when smart people put their minds to it. And there's something to be said for that.
ArcSign in the IRC chat room says, I'm glad Apple made the Newton when they did. I love today's iPad. It's a great-great-grandson of the Newton. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you could easily say that.
Yeah.
It's not that when he killed the Newton, they just closed the door and everybody forgot about it.
Yeah.
There are things that Apple learned from building the Newton and building the message pad, and they would have taken that knowledge and said, okay, now we're going to build a tablet.
Yeah.
Because that's what they started to build first, before the iPhone the iPad. So they would have taken that knowledge. They would have said, do we want handwriting recognition? And Steve probably said, hell no.
That's right.
Don't get us into that again. But, what else did we learn?
No.
What else can we do? And that's the kind of stuff that I think the Newton led to, was the knowledge and experience that those guys managed to get from building it.
Speaking of knowledge and experience, I think you've gained wisdom as you've gotten older. You've obviously gained knowledge, gained experience, but you've also mellowed a bit. I see this story, 3 more senior execs out at BlackBerry. I don't read this story on the Loop. I read it somewhere else. In the last month, BlackBerry has lost their corporate information technology VIP, their global manufacturing and supply chain senior VP. They've lost their the exec who headed up the original BlackBerry playbook team. They're the guy who's in charge of the company's
Where's he
social
gonna
network.
go?
Yeah, no kidding. How's that for your resume?
Yeah.
They've lost 5 fairly important people in the last month. I've heard nary a word of this on the Loop. Jim, what is wrong with the Loop?
It matters so little at this point. I mean, really, I mean,
yeah.
I saw that post today on CBC.
Yep.
That they lost another 3 top execs and then a couple more, and I sat there and looked at it, and I thought, what do you say?
Yeah.
I mean, does it? Most of these things that I look at, I have something that comes into my head right away that, this is wrong, or, I kind of agree with this, but not really, and here's why. This I just looked at and thought, wow, it's just sad. But what do you say? Does it really matter that execs leave BlackBerry? No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter.
It's fairly obvious. These are the proverbial rats leaving the sinking ship, isn't it?
Well, they could have been fired too.
True.
I mean, come on. It's the guy that headed up the playbook. Now, in fairness to him, his hands were probably tied. I mean, the 2 co-CEOs probably just hamstrung him like nothing else, and made it very difficult for him. So, got to feel bad for him. Now, if executives started to flee from Samsung or Google or Apple, Microsoft, okay, that means something. Why are these guys all leaving? And executives leave these companies all the time because they cash in and they get a gazillion dollars, and somebody offers them this cool job, where they can go to start. Why not? They don't need the money anymore. They've already made their name. So, they're coming and going all the time. That's not important. If a whole group of them leave, okay, now something's going on.
Yeah, 5 guys in 1 month should be cause for concern for whatever idiots still hold BlackBerry stock.
But I didn't see the point. Besides to have a laugh, which would have just been rude.
Yeah, exactly. After all this time, exactly.
Yeah.
Here's another story I have not yet seen on the Loop, and by the way, folks, you won't see me linking to it in any other way, shape, or form either. Ashton Kutcher wants you to know, I don't care. I don't care. Everyone's covering this. CNET, TUAW, 9 to 5. Everyone... I'm getting the PR from the movie's public relations company. They're sending those out to everybody.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, are you and I wrong for not covering the story, or is 9 to 5 and TUAW and CNET just being whores covering what is only going to be described as a non-story?
Well, I mean, I guess, a story and a non-story, it depends on what you think of it. Are they posting it because it's a story for their readers? I mean, the readers may be very, very interested in it. For me, I posted, I think, 2 things about the movie since it's been going on. One was the movie poster, because I thought it was very cool.
Sure. Yeah.
And one was the trailer, because I watched the trailer and thought, wow, I like this.
Yep.
So I posted a link to that. Those are the only 2 things I think that I've covered about the movie. But a lot of people are interested in this thing. And, maybe for them it's, that story for the readers is an interesting thing. For me, it's okay, but I'm going to see the movie.
Fair enough, but to me, it seems like it's overkill. Every single day, CNET, 9 to 5, TUAW, all of those guys have another story that's just being fed to them by the movie's PR company, because it's the exact same story for every single website. They're not digging this news up on their own. They're just sitting back and being fed corporate PR. That's what I find offensive about these guys with their noses up the movie's ass.
But Shawn, I mean, let's face it, most of the information that's out there, and not just at those websites, but a lot of the news sites, even a lot of the mainstream sites, are fed to them by PR.
Yeah.
I get a lot of PR stuff, but I'm not in the same type of business that I was. I look for things like the secret message in Lincoln's pocket watch.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, that was a very cool story, I thought. And, judging from the people that retweeted it and read it today, a lot of people thought it was a cool story.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's not a PR story. So it's probably the only site that you'll find that story today is on The Loop.
Yeah.
But I didn't do, the movie story or stuff like that. And, this one was important to me. I thought that was a great individual thing. And calling Amazon out for trying to go against accessibility.
Well, the other story about calling people out, it was very interesting to see the folks at The Verge calling you out for reportedly being an Apple shareholder.
Wasn't that funny?
Can you believe that?
That's
awesome.
Just
unbelievable. First of all, folks, for those who aren't familiar with it, Rush Limbaugh reveals vast tech blogger conspiracy against Apple and Republicans. And he's like, what? So The Verge and Joshua Topolsky on Twitter, they write, and I quote, "Perhaps Limbaugh was referring to John Gruber of Daring Fireball and Jim Dalrymple at The Loop, two bloggers with unabashed love for Apple, who often call it what they see as an anti-Apple slant. And in interest of full disclosure on that front, Dalrymple, for one, also reportedly holds Apple stock." Now, tell us the story behind that, Jim.
So it makes it sound like I've got, hundreds of thousands of dollars in Apple stock.
Secretly hidden away.
So, here's the story. So I told Josh that I had Apple stock.
Sure.
He called me one day.
Yeah.
I told everybody.
Yeah,
I told people on my Amplify podcast. I told people on this podcast. Do you have Apple? Josh said, "Do you have Apple stock?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Aha, you have Apple stock." I said, "Yeah, I have 10 shares that my wife bought me."
Yeah.
And she bought the stock as a gesture, when we sold Mac Central. Here's some Apple stock, like 10 shares or something or whatever she could get. And I'll tell you how much the stock is worth.
$4,000. I know, I can do math.
So the stock is worth so little that, at the brokerage house, you have these brokerage accounts.
Yeah.
They closed mine and asked me to take it. Yeah.
Please, Mr. Dalrymple, go away.
So I said, "Well, what do I do now?"
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want it, and you have to pay like $100 a year for these brokerage accounts, right?
Yeah.
And that's all that I had there because she bought it through a friend that was a broker there, and then he left, and they finally called one day and said, "We don't want this. Please go away." So I said, "Well, can you call my bank and just transfer it there?"
Yeah.
So they said, "Yeah, okay." So my bank called and said, "Yeah, we got this transfer and fine, it's all done and it's in the account here." I don't think they were very pleased to get it either. But
right.
so then, after me actually telling Josh that I have Apple stock, then The Verge comes out with this story and says that I reportedly. So how can I reportedly when I'm actually the one who told you?
That's right.
I mean, it was laughable. And I was sitting there and I was reading the story and it said, and Dalrymple, for one, reportedly has Apple stock. And I thought, what? I do?
Oh, God.
But what's reported about that?
Yeah.
So anyway, it was pretty funny. So I actually tweeted about it.
Yep.
I mean, I've got nothing to hide with it. I don't care. I've said for years that I've had this stock.
Yeah.
And if that's enough to make or break Apple, well,
I think the thing that I found interesting was the fact The Verge was pimping this story. When you read Limbaugh's transcript, he's a bigger idiot on this than he normally is. I mean, to quote him in the first paragraph, he says, "There are journalists there. Some of these blogs have actual websites. Could someone please explain to Rush what a blog is? It's a website, dude."
Yeah.
And then he goes on this rant about how there's a bias against Apple. There's a bias for Apple, too. By the way, Rush, there's a bias for Ford. And there's a bias against Harley-Davidson. And there's bias everywhere. This is a non-story. There's been biases for Ford against Apple since the early 1990s. Why The Verge thought this was a story worthy of their pages was completely beyond me. I'm reading it hoping to see something that I didn't know from 1992, and there was nothing. That Rush supposedly just discovered this on his own. Welcome to the early 90s, Rush.
Yeah. And I was surprised too, but when I tweet, I started getting tweets saying, "Oh, so you're the one that's manipulating Apple stock," from my followers, and everybody's laughing. And I thought, what are you laughing about? So then I read it, and I just, you can't help but laugh at that point.
It just the way they treated the story, and the way everyone seemed to think that Rush was some sort of what his discovery was something important was hilarious to me. It's like, if you've been paying attention, kids, it's been like this for 20, 30 years now. It's a non-story. I don't agree or disagree with Rush. I'm just saying it's not a story.
There you go. Well, the fact that I have Apple stock, all 10 shares, isn't a story either.
Exactly.
But there it is.
Do you does the name Chris Matuzak mean anything to you at all? I think you worked with him side by side when you both at CNET. No, I'm kidding. You don't know who the hell he is. He writes possibly the most consistently stupid stuff at CNET, and that's saying something. To be able to be consistently stupid at CNET, you're working hard. Because even some of the other guys occasionally get stuff right, but Matuzak consistently stupid. He says that Apple simply doesn't want to acknowledge the criticisms being tossed its way by pretenders in their advertising. Really, Chris?
What?
Exactly. He's talking about Apple's new iPhone 5 ad, the FaceTime
I like
ad.
it.
I thought it was a very good ad. It was a very sweet ad. I love the guy with his dog. And he says, "Say hi," and the dog barks. Oh, that's so cute. But Matuzak seems to think that this is some sort of concerted ad campaign for Apple to ignore its critics. This is the way Apple's always worked, Matuzak. There's nothing new here. There's no story here.
I don't understand what he's getting at.
Exactly. And that's the thing. He says, when they're all trying to get at you, you must be doing something right, or you're simply paranoid and inventing the whole thing. This guy is the single worst writer I can imagine, and he gets paid to work at CNET. I don't know why you left such a sweet gig, man. Because if he can write drivel like this and get money for it, you should be able to get money for still getting money from CNET.
I don't know. I mean, when you look at that commercial, if you've ever used FaceTime, then and I used FaceTime once.
Yeah.
With my family, my daughter and her boyfriend went down to visit his family in Florida.
Yep.
And they were staying at a condo with his family. And when she got there, we FaceTime, and she walked around, holding up her phone, walked around and showed us the condo and the the outside area and stuff. And it was great. Yeah. It was great to be able to do that. But I'm not a big FaceTime user because, I call people on FaceTime and they say, "Oh, hell no."
Yeah.
I don't want to see your face.
No, I mean, this is hard enough for you with full screen on my 15-inch monitor. This is painful enough for me, and then the audience has to look at both of us, so it's like double ugly FaceTime. It's awful. But yeah, I like the novelty of FaceTime, and I understand what segment of the market FaceTime hits.
Right.
Grandparents and parents and even teenagers who want to FaceTime each other. I get that, and I bought the cute Italian girl for her birthday, the romantic guy that I am, an iPhone 4S. Not the 5, the 4S.
What cute Italian girl?
Alessandra, and it's her birthday today. Say happy birthday to Alessandra.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Who is she?
What's that?
Who is she?
Who is she? She's my girlfriend.
Oh.
So I got an iPhone 4S, and one of the things I showed her was FaceTime. And she thought it was very, very cute. The first thing she asked me was, can her daughter, who uses a Galaxy, do FaceTime? Because she would love to be able to do that FaceTime thing with her daughter. I said, no, it's only an Apple thing. I'm surprised, though, that Apple putting out this ad a precursor to Apple finally opening up FaceTime to the standard they promised it was going to be when it was first released, 2-3 years ago? Remember Apple said that? They were going to release this as an open standard so that everyone could do FaceTime. We've seen hide no hair of any movement on that part. From
Apple. That's before Samsung ripped everything off. I mean, Samsung must have thought that everything is going to be an open standard. We'll just take it all.
That's right. Not. Oh, just this? Ooh, our bad.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We thought it was all going to be open standard. Oh,
we thought everything but FaceTime.
Oopsie.
Sorry.
Oopsie.
Yeah.
We'll get that fixed.
I don't know. I think that the people that use FaceTime appreciate FaceTime. Those of us even that don't use FaceTime still appreciate FaceTime.
Sure, I agree.
Because we get what it's all about.
Yep.
We get what it does, and that's a very cool thing. And if I was away more, maybe like I used to be, where I was gone for a couple weeks at a time and come home for a week and gone again, maybe I'd be using FaceTime more. Maybe if my kids actually wanted to hang out with me, I'd be using FaceTime more.
Maybe, yeah. Okay.
But I'm going away with my son this weekend.
Where are you going?
Montreal to a heavy metal festival.
Nice. Who's playing?
Yeah. Oh God, there's about 20 or 30 bands. It's over 2 days. So Megadeth, Godsmack, Black Label Society, just Rob Zombie, everybody's going to be. So it's going to be great. So Mike and I are going away, and we're gonna hang out for a couple days in Montreal.
And, wait a minute. Now he's old enough to drink in Montreal.
What?
He's old enough to drink in Montreal.
Is he?
Will you allow him to have an adult beverage?
Sure.
Really?
Why not?
Well, because he's not legal in your particular province.
He's legal where we are. That's fine. But Mike doesn't drink, so.
Oh, he doesn't drink at all.
No.
Oh, good for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be a lot of fun, and you'll be with your peeps.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
All right. So you said this weekend.
Yep.
You guys flying or driving?
Flying. We're going to fly.
I drove to Montreal when I was 16. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Don't want to do it ever again, but
no,
because New Brunswick is a pit. I'm sorry, Maritimers. New Brunswick is an awful province.
Yeah,
it's the Saskatchewan of the Maritimes. It's just you don't want to stop there at all. So yeah, well then you and Mike have fun, and we shall see you next week, folks. We're talking to Jim Downpour from The Loop. He has his own podcast. It's up there on the iTunes store called Amplified. Him and Dan Benjamin. Peter Cohen joined you this week, didn't he?
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to listen to it. I'll listen to it sometime tonight to make me go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting.
Good. Well, you guys have a good time in Montreal, and we shall talk to you next week.
Thanks, Shawn.
Thanks, Jim. See ya. Bye. Folks, that was Jim Downpour from The Loop at loopinsight.com. Hang on a second. I have to switch my audio inputs. Hang on. My audio outputs, actually, so I make sure I hear the sound correctly. And we don't, Jim's gone, so let's do that. There we go. Whoa. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, so the email, as always, on air at yourmaclifeshow.com. Love getting, emails from you guys. I don't know what this Rickards that Maurice sent me, but it's kind of burpy. It's a blonde, and they're not usually make me that burpy. Sorry, sharing too much. So I was talking about this at the beginning of the show for you folks who may have tuned in late. The idea of, and we'll talk more about this, the flip side of this on next week's show. But what's a place that you would not go back to? If travel-wise, everyone knows, hopefully everyone knows by now, that Your Mac Life will be off for the month of October as myself and the cute Italian girl, again, Alessandra, go to Italy. We're going back to her hometown of just outside of Torino. And I'm trying to say it the proper Italian way, Torino, not Turin. Did you know the Fiat, the T in Fiat stands for Torino? I did not know that. Federation Italian Automobile Torino, I think. I didn't realize Fiat was based in Torino. So we're going to be going 4 months, maybe a little bit longer, and so we're planning the trip. I'm setting up a website just for subscribers to Your Mac Life. So from anyone who subscribes for the month of August, September, and October, we'll get access. It'll be a password protected website. You'll get access to the pictures and the videos and all the stuff that we're going to do while we're there, the touristy and non-touristy things. The great thing about it is I'm going to be going with a native of the area. We're going to be in northern Italy along the Swiss-French border. And so she knows that area. She's lived that area her entire life. So she knows that intimately. So we won't just be going to the touristy stuff. We'll be going to a whole bunch of other things too. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm going to be calling it our own private Italy. So we're going to be having a lot of fun. But so we've been making the plans, and we were talking about this. And I was thinking, this is a place I love going. I absolutely love Italy. To me, there's no other place in the world that has the combination of food, history, art, culture, geography, the people, language, as Italy does. I think that's why I love Italy so much, that it has got all of those things. Every other country I can think of lacks some or more of those aspects of it. Britain, food. British food, not that good. Scenery, there are places that are pretty, but nothing like Italy. So you see what I'm saying? But also got me thinking, what are those places that you would not go back to? Next week we'll talk about the places that you want to go back to. And the week after that we'll talk about the places you've never been that you would go to. But if you were going to go on, and this is not for work, a place you've been on vacation or have traveled to that you would not go back to, that if I gave you the money for it, if I gave you X numbers of thousands of dollars, you would say, and I'd say, you have to go here. You would go, nope, not going. Where would that place be? Imagine the place that you've already been that you would not go back to. And it could be in your hometown. It could be your home state, your home province, across the oceans. Where would it be? I know for me where it is. For me, now, the interesting, we're getting folks in the IRC chat room. Brian Monroe says Paris. I'd go back to Paris in a heartbeat. Monty, Los Angeles. I don't disagree with you on Los Angeles. If someone gave me the money, I'd go back, but Los Angeles is not a place I would personally want to go back to. For me, the place, Sherry says Vegas Strip. I'd go back to Vegas. I'd go to the Strip. It's not a place I'd avoid, but Sherry, Maurice agrees with you. He would not go back to Vegas. For me, and this might be surprising to some folks, I would not go back to the pyramids, to Cairo. I found Cairo to be an awful, awful city. I found the pyramids experience, except for the actual physical touching of the pyramids and looking up at these incredible buildings, monuments to man's self, everything else about the pyramids was awful. Awful, awful, awful to the nth degree. The panhandlers were hyper aggressive. The camels smelled like nothing I've ever smelled before in my life. And I've been to New York in July. These camels were the most foul smelling things I've ever experienced in my life. And there was probably 50 of them all over the place. Couldn't avoid them. The vendors, quote unquote vendors, who wanted you to buy their little tchotchkes, very, very aggressive. I mean, grabby aggressive. Stand in your way aggressive. Pull on your clothes aggressive. Didn't like that at all. Canadians, as a Canadian, I don't want anyone within like 3 feet of me. I put my arms out and do a airplane thingy with my arms out. Don't come anywhere closer than that unless I ask you to. So these guys crowding you just was not fun at all. Like I said, the pyramids themselves, mystical, magical, incredible. Being able to touch something that was 2,500 years old was just mind-blowing. Being able to climb it to a certain degree, just transcendent. But everything else about that trip, about being in Cairo, was awful. The funniest awful part was the tour company had us do a little boat trip down the Nile, which sounds much more romantic than it actually is. And so they had us have a traditional Egyptian lunch, and it was tasty, it was good. And then at the end of it, the entertainment was a belly dancer. Okay, this is not a bad idea. Belly dancer comes out, very, very pretty belly dancer. Quite pale for a belly dancer that I assumed was Egyptian. Reddish brown hair, which I think is unusual for Egyptians. So she's belly dancing. And at one point, and then she stops, and she walked past us, and she's standing behind us, and I guess she's talking to somebody. I don't know what it is. She was Scottish. Our Egyptian belly dancer on the Nile in Egypt was Scottish. That's just wrong. You know, it's okay to be a Scottish belly dancer if you're in Germany, if you're in Michigan, if you're in South Africa. But if you're in Egypt, I want an Egyptian belly dancer, damn it. I don't want some Scottish girl. But yeah, it was definitely a place I would not ever go back to. You'd have to parachute me into the pyramids on top of one of them before I would actually go back. Brian Monroe says he likes Vegas. Hiker says Half Moon. No, you guys are saying places that you want to go. Save that for next week. Or places you want to go back to. Not the ones that you like. Vegas Strip too touristy. True. Fremont Street. That's a fun place. I like Fremont Street. A lot of British Indian food isn't real Indian food. Mac Monkey says that's true. Monty says, I've heard that camels actually smell worse than French TV crews. Come on, Monty. Come on. Most New Yorkers aren't from New York. Get over it. What do you mean? You mean, but that's not. They're not portraying themselves as New Yorkers. She was portraying herself as a traditional Egyptian or Middle Eastern belly dancer, and she was Scottish. No, I'm not getting over that. Not getting over that at all. I want someone who's Middle Eastern to do my belly dancing when I'm in the Middle East. I got an email from our friend Susan Gare. Susan was talking about last week. We were talking about after sentence closing punctuation, one space or two. She says, I took keyboarding on actual typewriters where I learned to type two spaces at the end of a sentence. I got out of the habit with the computer era, but I'm required to go back to it again. The Office of Graduate Studies and Research, where I'm finishing up a master's degree, congratulations, Susan, requires that thesis writers type two spaces after sentence closing punctuation. Why? What difference does it make? Your master, you're saying they wouldn't give you your master's because you didn't type two sentences after a period? That's stupid. That's the sort of ridiculously ingrained thinking that you'd think universities would have gotten away from. That's just dumb, Susan. That they would require something like I prefer that they require well-written theses than caring about the fact that there's one or two periods after the end of a sentence. That just seems silly. Goldhard. Do people have an opinion about refurbished Macs from Apple? A friend asked me, and I wasn't sure what to say. It seems harmless enough, except that I've had a bad experience with that a number of years ago. Ended up sending the thing back and getting a new one. I didn't try it again. I don't know about a number of years ago, but I've had, I think, two or three, I'm going to say two refurbs from Apple. Didn't have any problem with them that I wouldn't have had with any other Mac. Remember, what an Apple refurb isn't them just taking it back, buffing some dust off of it, and then putting it back on the store shelves. Apple refurbs go through the same testing that a brand new machine would. It has the same warranty, the 1-year Apple Care, that a new machine would. If you buy a refurb and it breaks in 6 months, you can take it and get it fixed the same as you would any other Mac that would have the same break. I have no problem with refurb Macs, with getting with buying a refurb Mac. The biggest problem I find with refurbs is Apple has such a limited number of them. I generally find out about a refurb when I'm in the market for a Mac. I generally find out about the refurb too late. I go to the site, oh yeah, that's a good deal. I go to the site and find out they're already sold. The other downside of refurbs is you can only get them in that configuration. In other words, you can't get a build-to-order refurb. So if you need something special about your Mac or your iPad or any other Apple device, refurb may not be the way you want to go. But I have no problem recommending refurbs to folks. There's a lot of folks who are perfectly happy with, let's say, last year's model or 6 months ago's model and save $200. That's might be the other problem I have with refurb. The discounts aren't huge. You're not getting these things off at getting these things at half price. An Apple refurb, you're going to get $200 off, maybe $250. You're not going to get a huge discount off an Apple refurb. But then again, Apple products, as we know, hold their value fairly well. So, yeah, I would have no problem recommending refurbs to anybody who thought that they were a good deal for them. Speaking of that, there's a website I mentioned on Sulia.com called refurbtracker.com. REFURB tracker, TRACKER, refurb-tracker.com. They say don't miss another Mac. What you can do is tell it what Apple Store you want to get notified with, and they've got Australia, Canada, Germany, Spain, Italy, Ireland, U.S., Swiss, South Korea, obviously a lot of different countries, and all the different categories, Mac accessories, Apple TV, iPod, Mac Mini, MacBook Pro, iPhone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can have either an RSS feed for you folks who are RSS fans or email, and it will send you an alert when this happens. I think it's kind of a neat idea if you are in the market for a refurb or wanting to sort of get an idea of pricing. So check that out. Check that out. ArcSign says, I love refurbished Macs. His Shadow, mine, and my wife's MacBook Pros are both refurbs, as is my 24-inch iMac. Mosquito, looking forward to getting a refurb mini for the missus. I wouldn't buy a brand new Mac again, says ArcSign. So that's, high praise from all of us over refurb. I haven't heard anyone with consistent refurb issues. Yeah, you may get a dud machine, but you may get a dud machine from the Apple Store. So, like I said, I have no problem recommending refurbs to anybody. Monty says, speaking of Sulia posts, thanks for the one about the hugely discounted Macworld subscription. Yeah, if you guys are fans of the paper issue of Macworld, go to my Sulia.com page. Sulia, that's SULIA.com/Shawn King, SHAWN King. And the top story right now is, if you're a Macworld fan, you can get 12 issues for only $6.50 an issue. I'm going to assume this is only for our American listeners, but it's a great deal. It's a great deal for a one-year subscription. Discount Magazines has it for 1 year, 12 issues for only $6.50. They say it's $3 under a mention for week. I think it's the lowest price I've ever seen for Macworld Magazine. ArcSign says, often current model iPods and iPads are available from the refurb store. Any discount on the current model is a great thing. ArcSign, you are correct. Monty says, I subscribed for 2 years for only $13. $10 is the usual price I've seen for 12 months of Macworld. So if you can get 2 years for $13 and, you're still a fan of Macworld, that's definitely a good deal. You should grab that while you can. I've got other issues too. Well, yeah, you guys know that. You guys heard of this thing called a Pogo plug? I'll mention this on Sulia too, but it's kind of a neat little device. It plugs into your router, and then you can plug external USB hard drives into it, and then those hard drives become part of your network. So it's great for backups, for time machine backups, and that kind of stuff. So I see this deal, $15 plus free shipping. Wow, cool. So I go. It's on eBay. I click buy now. It says, where do you live? I say Canada. It says, all right, the device is $15 and your free shipping, $54. $54 for a $15 product. I guess I ain't getting a Pogo plug. Man, that hurt. That was just a painful shot in the you-know-what to find out that's how much more the shipping was going to be. That was not fun at all. It's an interesting email from Gary Apter. And Gary, I really appreciate, I didn't respond to you directly because I wanted to say this on the show. But very interesting email that you sent. He says, Shawn, I listened to you talk about the photo of you and your motorcycle. That was a pretty clever way into the talk. As a 30-year veteran truck driver, I'd like to offer up my opinion for what it's worth to you. It's worth a great deal, Gary. I appreciate you sending it. As someone in the public eye and ear, I'd avoid making any statements that might haunt you in a court of law or insurance company search. It might seem far-fetched to you, but in my opinion, saying anything that might be remotely used against you is to be avoided like the plague. Really. Anecdotally, I was told of a driver where I used to work saying something he ought not to on a CB radio that was used against him. On a recent episode of This Week in Law, the topic of people saying things in public media, and whether those thought it might be used against them. A miserable percent had it accurate. I know you're a person of intelligence, so that isn't up for any challenge. I do suggest you avoid any topic like that. I've heard others talk about texting while driving, exceeding posted legal speed limits. Wouldn't it be tragic if someone brought anything remotely like that up in a hearing? As I listen to you each week and look forward to hearing what you bring to the discussion, I offer this as a pal. Take it or leave it, sir. Gary in Boise. And P.S. Better sound levels. Thank you for that. You're welcome for the sound levels, Gary. Now, it's interesting. Brian Monroe says very, very, very good point, except for the fact that, and I'm not going to disagree with you, Gary. You're right. Most people should be careful of what they say and write in public. I don't want to make it sound like I'm an idiot. I'm not most people. I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I said anything, and I'm not going to argue about this from a legal point of view, that was actionable. I can admit to killing Jimmy Hoffa, but someone's got to find proof of that. My confession wouldn't just be enough. There's got to be evidence of it. Yes, I've sped. We've all speeding. I've gone faster on the motorcycle than the legal limit. I have no problem saying that. I'd be a liar if I say anything different. But that's not actionable by the police in any court in the land. My admission, because they'd have to prove where I did it. But I understand your point. I definitely accept and understand your point. I'm not worried about it, though. I would never admit to murdering someone on the air. I would admit to doing something that we all do, which is speed. And if the government wanted to come get me and give me a speeding ticket retroactively, all right, I'd be okay with that. It's $120 out of my pocket, and I'd learn a valuable $120 lesson. But for the most part, I told the story because I thought it was amusing, not to brag about it. I don't think I was anyway. I'll have to go back and listen. But I do understand your point, Gary, and I do appreciate it. Arcsign says, Shawn, remember when you told the internet streaming company where you lived and they added an extra charge? Yeah, that was right. Penn and Teller avoid slander charges on bullshit by calling people assholes instead of liars. Okay, that's one way that they could do it. I have no problem calling a spade and saying what I think. It's interesting. It's an interesting point of view, Gary. I believe me, I understand where you're coming from, and I know that you're as you say, you offer this as a pal, and I certainly do appreciate it. It did make me think about what I say and how I say it, and I always appreciate that. Les Posen, remember last week, Les posted a picture, or sent me a picture that I posted on the show of him in a apparently a Hawaiian high-rise. Well, he's there for a psychology convention. I don't care. You still sent me a picture of a beach. You didn't send me a picture of the psychology convention. You didn't send me a picture of the inside of the convention center. You didn't send me a picture of your badge. You sent me a picture of the beach. So don't try to get out of it by saying you're here for work. Nice try, pal. He says, my travel equipment is an iPad 3 fitted with a local 4G SIM from AT&T with tethering for his iPhone 5. He's got a MacBook Air 13-inch for presenting, a 5-plug power board with 2 USB ports for charging devices. I like that idea, Les. I have to take a look and see if I can't find one of those. An extra power pack for mobile recharging. Received a speaker swag at Macworld. The iPad and Apple Maps are excellent for getting around away from the main drag. iPhone tethering allows Skype calls to local cell and landlines, as well as picking up voicemail from home. I've also have Foscam cameras at home via Wi-Fi, so I can see who comes and goes, and these send emailed pics when they detect movement. We use Foursquare, Yelp, and Urban Spoon to locate restaurants and shopping areas, often with discounts. I didn't know you could use Foursquare to locate restaurants and shopping areas. I know you can with Yelp and Urban Spoon. I've used those. The taxi app to estimate fares. United Airline app for flight check-in and boarding passes, as well as updates. Yahoo Weather for weather. Twitter to keep up with conference proceedings, as well as home news and happenings. The picture he emailed was from the 18th floor of the Sheraton using my iPad. Let me know if you want to know what extra software and hardware I bring to enhance my presentations and bring them several levels beyond standard psychologist fare. Might be an interesting segment, as I also teach the skills and have presented to Apple keynote engineering team in Pittsburgh. Read my presentation ideas. Thanks for that, Les. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm going to be sitting down and writing about for the our own private Italy website is the gear we're going to bring. We've already gotten, thanks very much to the nice folks at 12 South. They have shipped us books. I've gotten kind of because of this trip. The idea I want to narrow down not only the kind of things that I bring with me, but the number of things. So I've often carried. You folks who listen to the show for a long time know I don't have a case on my iPhone. My iPhone has always been butt naked. I've always just put it in my jeans, and then on one side I've got my iPhone. On the side I have my wallet. Well, we were in the Cuter Town girl and I were in the Apple store in Calgary over the weekend, and she saw the book. And she said, that'd be a really neat idea. I thought, well, okay, but let's give that a try. So the nice folks at 12 South are sending us books to test out and a plug bug world, because we're going to be traveling to a foreign country and they have different plugs. And so the plug bug world will help us link into the electric system in Italy. So we're going to be detailing the kinds of things that we are going to be using, both hardware and software-wise, the personal tech versus work tech. The folks at Nikon are sending us a P7700 point-and-shoot camera for the cute Italian girl, so she can take cute Italian girl pictures. Still trying to convince them to send me the Nikon D3S. God, I'd love to do that. Normally, I rent the Nikon D3S from the nice folks at lensprotogo.com, but because I'm going for a month, it's too expensive. It's about $1,000 for the month for Lens Pro to Go for the D3S and the lens I usually rent, a 70 to I think it's 120. Great camera, great lens, and they're well worth the $1,000. I just don't have it. That is just too simple. I ain't got $1,000 to be able to spend on a big fat DSLR. So hopefully the folks at Nikon will loan me one for the month of October. 12 South, yeah, Monty has posted, it's 12south.com is the website. 12, the word, south.com is the website. They've got a whole bunch of cool Apple products. They always have. Andrew Green is the founder of the company. He and his wife live there in, I think they're North Carolina, Greenville, North Carolina. And they come up with a bunch of really cool stuff. I remember the original book for the MacBook Pros, and they sent me one of those. That was a great idea. So the idea of having one, I'm going to be interested to see how well it handles being treated as a regular case. Because I know the cute Italian girl will treat hers nicely. I know I'll abuse mine the way I abuse everything. So will it hold up to basically being sat on for a month? That's going to be the torture test. I'll put the book through. We'll see what it looks like. I'll take pictures of it before and after, while it's in the packaging, and then a month later, and see if I've destroyed the poor thing. We'll be getting a Mophie cases because we plan on doing a lot of using the iPhones for photos, for uploading, for little quick blog posts, for photo editing, and adding text to photos that we can upload to the our own private Italy website. So I'm almost positive we're going to need some sort of external battery. And I've always been a big fan of the Mophie juice packs. So hopefully the folks at Mophie will send us one of those. We put our request in. So fingers crossed. So I saw this briefly at the beginning of the show. Which I think it was Sherry was asking about sponsoring the show. I think Eric Emmerich, and like I said, we're going to be doing this on next week's show. Eric will do the first one. He'll be the first sponsor on next week's show because he gave me the idea, and we'll talk more about it, the cost, and all that kind of stuff on next week's show. Brian Monroe says, get a 5,000 mAh external battery, not the Mophie case, more flexible. I think the Mophie case is wonderfully flexible because it's a case. It goes on the iPhone. I won't lose it. An external battery pack can get lost, can get damaged. Don't need 5,000 megahertz? Megahertz, I think it is. 5,000. No, it's not. What's MH? 5,000. I think the iPhone's a 2,000 mAh device, and the biggest Mophie juice pack is also a 2,000 mAh device, so it'll recharge it once. I can't see us needing more juice than that because we'll be somewhere each evening. We'll be able to recharge. The guys on IRC are milliamp hour. That's what it is. It's a way of describing how much energy is in a battery. I think the iPhone 4S and or the 5 are at 2,000 milliamp hours or mAhs, and the juice pack is also 2,000. So it would basically top up a dead iPhone. I can't imagine we're ever going to be, I know we'll never be somewhere where we won't have electricity in the evenings. So I understand what you're saying with the 5,000 mAh external battery, but we don't need that kind of juice. But thanks for the idea. I appreciate it. Folks, that's it for tonight's show. I want to say thanks very much to all our guests, Jim Downpour from The Loop at loopinsight.com. Also want to send out our thoughts to our good friend Sly. She's having a family emergency tonight. So Sly, love you, sweetie, and hopefully we will talk to you very soon. Until next week, as always, I've been Shawn King, and you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!